Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I paint Hero Forge custom miniatures. I've got a human priest called Ezra and an elf wizard called Ilant'eya. If you like the video then please comment in the box below, give it a thumbs up, subscribe and click on the bell icon for notifications of new videos. Hope you enjoy. So I'm going to make a start on painting these miniatures. Hero Forge send them pre-primed, so I'm not going to need to do that. On the box it does talk about cleaning them, but I've found that I can paint straight onto the prime that they've done. So I'm going to use a standard brush, Army Painter Hobby standard brush, and I'm going to start by painting in the flesh areas. So I'm going to do that in Army Painter Barbarian Flesh. So all I'm going to do with that, I've got a little palette here which is just a ready meals tub, and it's got different sections, so I put a little bit of water in one section and then I mix my paints in the other sections. So I'm going to put a squeeze of Barbarian Flesh in there. It's better when you base coat to water the paint down a little bit, because if it's too thin you can always add more, but if it's too thick then it obscures the detail. I always start with the flesh areas because I find that it's quite hard to get into the crevices of the neck and around that area, and if you end up painting it after the other base coats then you tend to just get that paint on those areas as well. So I'm going to start doing that, and I'm going to do that to all of the other flesh areas. I'm not going to be too neat on this coat because I know that I'm going to correct later on. So I'll be back when all of the base coats are done. Yeah, the flesh areas have been painted Army Painter Barbarian Flesh. Ezra's robes and the metal areas have been painted Army Painter Matte Black. The wood and leather areas have been painted Army Painter Leather Brown. Ezra's hair, the feathers and the book pages have been painted Army Painter Matte White. Ilant'eya's robes have been painted Army Painter Ultramarine Blue. The trim on Ilant'eya's robes and the jewels have been painted Army Painter Greenskin. Ilant'eya's hair has been painted Army Painter Demonic Yellow. The trim of Ezra's robes and the base have been painted Army Painter Uniform Grey. Okay, so now I've put a base coat on both miniatures. I'm going to go back using a small detail brush and putting all the base coat colours on again and just tidying up. So I'm going to start with the Barbarian Flesh and then move on to all of the other colours. And it's really just going over areas I've made mistakes. If the paint's looking a little thin in areas, just putting a little bit of extra paint there. Just going to make sure I water it down again so that I don't obscure any detail, and fill in all of those gaps. So I'll be back when I finish those. Okay, so I finished tidying up and now it is time for me to wash the miniatures. So I'm going to use Army Painter Quick Shade Strong Tone. I'm not going to add any water to this, so I'm just going to put a little squeeze in my palette because it is very runny. And I'm going to use a standard brush, just make sure there's no colour on it already, and then I'm just going to dip the brush in there. I'll run that over all of the features that aren't going to be metal, so hair, skin, any coloured robes, wood, anything like that. And what this does is it runs into all of the recesses and creates shadow. Like that. So I'm going to finish these and then I'll be back for the next stage after that. Okay, so now I've washed the miniatures, I'm going to use the base colours again. So I'm going to start with Barbarian Flesh. I'm going to highlight areas. So I'm going to put a little squeeze Barbarian Flesh on my palette, and I'll do the same with all the other base coats. And just using a standard brush, I'm going to go back in and paint over the raised areas, but I want to leave some of the areas in shadow. So if I was looking at the face, I'd be doing the nose, the cheeks, the chin, maybe a bit of the forehead, just to bring those areas out, but I also want to leave some of it in shadow. So I'll do that to all of the other base coats, and then I'll be back after that. Okay, so now that I've finished highlighting, I'm going to dry brush some areas. So I'm going to dry brush the armour and some of the jewellery. So the armour I'm going to do with plate mail metal, army painted plate mail metal. And the jewellery and some of the coins I'm going to do with army painted greedy gold. So to dry brush, I'm going to use an army painted dry brush, and also a standard brush for the smaller areas. So to do that, I'm just going to start with the plate mail metal for the armour. I'm going to put a little squeeze in here in my palette. I'm not going to water this down, and all I'm going to do is drag the dry brush through the paint, and then using a bit of tissue paper I'm going to take that paint off until I can only just see it, and then drag that over the metal areas. And what that will do is it will pick up on all of the raised areas of metal. It's better to start off lightly and add more rather than going too thick and heavy with this. So you can see the effect there. So I will be back when all of that has been done. Okay, so now I've finished dry brushing the metal areas. I'm going to do some tints. So I'm going to use the base colours again and mix a little bit of matte white with those and apply them just to the highest areas. So the very tip of the nose when I'm doing the face, tip of the cheeks, tip of the chin, the knuckles, knees, all of those sort of areas. So I'm going to use a small detail brush for this one, mix in a little bit of water and tiniest amount of white. I don't want this to be too light. And I'm just going to apply that to those areas I just mentioned. So looking at the face, it's going to be the tip of the nose, tip of the cheeks, tip of the chin. Okay, so I'll be back when all of those are done. Okay, so now that I have finished highlighting and tinting, I'm going to add some details. So this is all the little bits and pieces. To do the eyes, I'm going to paint them all matte black. Then I'm going to paint white over that but leave a little outline, and then for the actual eyeball I'm going to use a cocktail stick and black. What else do we need to do? Details like on the face, so Ilant'eya is going to have some blue and green lips. I'm also going to paint the edge of the base in a brown colour. Any buckles on any belts or backpacks, I'll paint them black first and then plate mail metal. So I will be back when all of that is done. Okay, so details have been painted and I'm outside in the garage now so that I can varnish them. So you need to be in a ventilated area for this. I'm going to be using Army Painter anti-shine matte varnish. I've been shaking it for a minute and a half and just need to spray now, so this will just stop it from getting damaged if they fall off the tabletop. So it's really fine sweeps and I'm going to be quite a long way back. Again, I don't want to put too much up on and damage the miniature. Got it on a block so I can turn it, get all the angles. So here's Ezra Griffin all finished. And Ilant'eya Shaam-e'lah.